Hello and welcome to Oracle Storytelling. I am Sarah of Sarah Wing Intuitive Arts, and this is a little elephant. So let's say this is our little Ganesh here. My friend Francine sent me this. I got this little baby here. But welcome. I'm Sarah Wing. You can check out my Instagram, my Facebook, and some other videos on playlists on my YouTube channel here to see my art. So I do Oracle storytelling videos, and today is kind of going to be a dark moon edition, meaning, well, we're going to see where it takes us. I've got a couple Oracle decks out here. The energy is very veiled. The astrology, as you know, has been very riotous. And when I say as you know, just refer to your own life experiences, okay? How you've been experiencing Gaia's astrology living on this planet. But this dark moon edition, meaning kind of this veiled, these things that are kind of cloaked from us, that lack clarity, that we're seeking out, we're exploring. We haven't really come to any conclusions about. We're waiting for certain doors to be, or windows to open for us. This type of cloaked energy. That's what I'm feeling. And so that's kind of what we're going to converse on. I'm even wearing like black, and it's not a color that I typically wear, but I'm really feeling that energy. The energy of, like I said, this veiled energy, this mystery energy, this void space energy. I just dropped in cosmic egg energy, which could be like kind of a chrysalis energy. This having this sense of expansion and feeling boundaried all at once. That's what's coming through for me. Like when I say like chrysalis or cosmic egg, when you feel the expansion, but the boundaries at the same time. God, that's a great way to explain how I'm feeling lately for sure. And my personal, the way my natal chart is getting hit. Also, I have a couple stones that I grabbed. So this is this is ocean jasper, I believe. And this is iolite, which I was trying to find the description of, and I just couldn't find it. But I believe that it's like a calming, grounding stone, and that's why I grabbed it today. It also kind of looks like, it's a little translucent. It's hard to see here, but kind of looks like just a stone you'd find on the ground. Does that make sense? Kind of looks like, when I picked this up, one of the thoughts I had was, kind of looks like a stone you see on the ground. And if it was a little smaller, it would just be like you're walking down the street and maybe you just kick that stone. You're like, and you kick it a few times, right? Then I also thought, I can't be the only one that feels like that stone getting kicked lately. So it's both and. It's two things. It's one, a grounding and calming little iolite stone, and also a metaphor for how I've been feeling somewhat, and possibly you have as well. And I also brought this. I want to see if this does something. It's a little rainbow. Let's see if this. Ooh, yeah. Hello. I just thought that'd be fun to do a little rainbow effect there. So, yes, this dark mood energy, this veiled energy. I'm not quite sure. I kind of had some things prepared to talk about, but I'm going to let the cards kind of dictate. So the bulk of information is, I know, is most transparent and beneficial to all that stumble upon or intentionally come upon this video. So I'm going to pull from the Sacred Visions Oracle cards. In part, again, because it is a sacred oracle. And it's also, I put in this black velvet bag. So I'm just very drawn to black right now. I'm going to ask just for So I was just kind of thinking about, oh geez, got two cards. I thought it was one. Okay. I was asking about just this void space mystery energy. And what I first saw was release in 17. And so first I'm just going to talk about this for myself, which is 17 to me is always a number associated with an animal companion that passed. Like one of the animal companions that was like, you know, has part of my soul. They have part of mine. I have part of theirs. 17 is always a number that I associate with them. So release also makes me think of that, like a release of spirit, a release of that combination of soul. Like when someone is released, when someone is departed, knowing that part of their soul is always with you and part of your soul is always with them. But what's interesting is it linked. So this is that release card. Oh, that's gorgeous. The butterflies. But what's funny is it was release, and it felt like releasing the next card, which is joy. Very interesting. So the release, an end to sorrow and pain. One must have a keen sense of awareness, a clear and simple mind. Simplicity requires a great deal of discipline, intelligence, and sensitivity. He must surrender, the shaman, male, female. They must surrender, open, and release themselves. As a cocoon must release the butterfly. I'm talking about this cocoon energy. Oh my God. Oy. Just want to get. Your soul knows the landscape of your destiny. Trust in this. Okay. So yes, this cocoony energy where you're feeling like in that egg, like you're feeling this expansion. Your soul is ever seeking expansion, but the boundaries. So it's like before the release, before this butterfly, this chrysalis release, okay? Where you're kind of feeling both. And that is a very complex, layered, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all energetic fields feeling. It is complex. It is some real shit. And I feel you on this. I really do. And if you're someone that hasn't gotten into kind of the both and, I will tell you, it makes life so much easier. If you're somebody that really situates on the black or the white side of life, black, white, these extremes. If you're feeling this way, settling in and deepening your relationship with the both and of life, this is a wonderful time for that. Because it will bring greater awareness to the process that's unfolding, these transitions that are unfolding in your life, okay? It'll bring greater awareness. It won't change the trajectory. It won't maybe bring more or less joy or more or less sorrow, but it will bring awareness. And that awareness can help your sanity, kind of save your sanity a bit, as much as it challenges you to deepen your wisdom. Okay. So this release, and then it released joy. The mind that sees a thou is more understanding and compassionate than the mind that sees an it. We are all a part of the whole, and as such are deserving of mutual respect. The buffalo is the Creator's gift, and the mystical white buffalo the covenant. The great white hope is a bringer of joy remembered. As you hold a white buffalo calf sleeping trustfully in your arms, you overflow with gratitude. You understand the compassion of prayer. You understand that your evolution must not be confined to your own learning, for we each have our own strong song to share. The tiny butterfly of transformation is upon you. But the luminous halo of faith protects you. Archangel Michael is just sitting right here, so I'm going to hold him up. But the luminous halo of faith protects you, and know that death, transition, these transitions, changes we're going through, is your ally and final teacher. Pray for the betterment. Okay, all right. So here's that butterfly from the other card. And I almost want to say, like, let's say this is that kind of cocoon, this cosmic egg, okay? And let's say you've come out. You've been birthed. So death is the transition of cycles of death in your life. Things ebb and flow. Some things come to a death in your life. Some things, there is a finality to them. And let's say you step out. And what I'm seeing is your first act will probably, the first act or action or thing you're called to do might be something very surprising. So it might lead you to, this could be just learning from a new teacher, learning wisdom from a new teacher. But there is such a compassion and respect that you've garnered for yourself. Okay, so you're cultivating things so you can then place them out into the world. That's how that works. So that's what this makes me think of. Since we had Michael pop out over here, just sitting here, let's get some, this is the Keepers of the Light Oracle. So let's get some helpers, some Keepers of the Light to help us. So Archangel Michael, you're probably familiar with, and if you're not, we always think of him as a protector, right? Calling him to protect. That's jumping. All right, everybody, apparently we just want people with swords here. We're like, can we please? So let me talk about swords for a second. Swords make you think of drawing our swords and boundaries. So sometimes, okay, I'm an empath. I wouldn't hurt a fly, okay? But sometimes I have to draw a sword. Sometimes I have to. Sometimes I have to. For my well-being, or if I see mistreatment of others, I have to draw a sword. I have to speak up. I have to. I have to pull my sword up because it's important. Because it is something that is a calling from within you to be in service to those who cannot, those more vulnerable, who will be under harm or are under harm if you don't speak up or take action, or in service to yourself to say no and not just hear your voice in your own head and your own actions, but put it out to those who would be causing you harm, abuse, and draw that sword. So we have another sword here. Joan of Arc. What a beautiful image. Voice of truth. Yeah. Sometimes you have to just like say, this is my truth, not a half truth, a whole truth, like the whole truth. And you have to stand firm and you have to speak your voice, not your tiny mousy voice, but your big girl or boy voice. Okay. Like full pants on, big girl or boy voice. Because you have one and you need to announce that you have one to some people, or you need to firmly, you know what I'm saying. Stand strong, focus on your purpose, release the fear of persecution, and speak your truth. I am going to do a little side note here, okay? I'm going to tell you right now. I had a particularly hard day, and I wanted to do the video. I wanted to shoot a video today, so that's why I'm doing it. But I had a particularly hard day. I don't know if anyone has been in relationship with any form of like a narcissistic partner, gone through narcissistic abuse, or possibly as a parent, a narcissistic parent. It is a really, I mean, I could talk about boundaries all day. Certain people, it's kind of like graduate level, playing graduate level boundaries. It's even when you think it's like you kind of feel like, oh, I understand boundaries. They're things I set. They're for me to keep, right? I have to know what I want, know what I don't want, and set that boundary. When there is an abusive nature, it's always more complicated, right? So, and if you have someone in your family that is abusive, and like specifically, I'm just narcissistic abuse, it is so it's so detrimental. Obviously, one-on-one narcissistic abuse is very detrimental. When it's within a family, it can really just decimate so much of the family. And sometimes with people like that, that's who you really are drawing swords with. You have to, because when people have certain pathologies and they don't understand people as anything more than objects, and trust me, like for the person in my family, I'm pretty sure if no one was watching and I was about to get hit by a car, or an object was about to get hit by a car, if no one was watching, they definitely saved the object. Because it's about dominance, suppression, control. Narcissistic abuse is so destructive. And just having one of those days where growing up in a house with that, it was extremely damaging and had very lasting effects that I had to take care of in my own personal life as an adult. But coming back years later, as an adult in a different mental, physical, emotional space, when you kind of like come home again and you realize like when things were bad, they were actually so much worse. You're like, oh, they weren't just bad, terrible. They were terrible, terrible. So it's just this kind of stuff has been on my mind today, and really just these needs to draw swords sometimes. Yeah, it's just heavy. Sometimes life is extremely heavy and you deal with it a million times, but that 1,000,001 You just have to draw your sword. And I've had to draw swords today. And it's a good thing that I did what I felt called to do, but it's still heavy. It's still heavy, you know? So part of this, like it says, is release the fear of persecution and speak your truth. And I think with family, there's always layers of complication, and with just life and the way that layers are in life, there can be a lot of fear. And especially again with narcissistic abuse, there's so much like retaliation, like vengeance, just hateful, heinous, violent shit. That's just, it's not great. But I guess I'm sharing this for anyone who is going through some heavy shit, and possibly in some form of abusive relationship. One of the things I love to say to people who are spiritual is, if you are close to somebody and you feel like, you need to stay in that because you're trying to resolve something. If you believe in soul contracts, the moment that abuse comes in, that soul contract is null and void. You're welcome to leave at any time, period. And, I've had to do that myself. And there are certain relationships that are tied to other people that I love very much, that I do want to help and support. And I'm sure that some of you can relate here. And it makes things incredibly complicated. Sometimes you can only be around a person you love and want to support who's around somebody incredibly abusive. And it's very hard. It's very hard. So I feel you, but I also encourage you to not just set and hold your boundaries. Sometimes speak your fucking mind. This lifetime, babe, we're not getting burned at the stake. This lifetime, babe, we can lead, okay? We can lead, we can draw our sword, and we can be heard. Okay, is my determination coming through here? Great. So let's take these champions who draw their swords to heart right now. Okay. And I think I'm going to draw a card. The Viking Oracle. Some of you might be rune people. Some of you might like, different Viking mythology. Maybe you're a big Freya person. Maybe you're a Thor person. Maybe you're, big into Valkyries. Maybe you just think the idea of Vikings is like sexy. I really didn't know what was going to happen in this video, and I'm just riding it out. So we are coming to the end of the year, whatever that means, right? And so the word faith just came through, and interpret that as you will, okay? But I think faith in like a higher love, a divine love, faith in if you have guides that you turn to, if you have angels, if you have places in nature, if you have animals, these kind of sacred communicators, sacred communication that's different than, you can have sacred communication with people, exchanges with people, but it's different. It's different because there is an inherent knowing that you are in communication, you are in, you're aligned spirit to spirit. You are aligned just like love to love. Maybe love is the language, period, for you. Love is the frequency. The love is your divine belief, okay? It's different than just seeing somebody in front of you and going, okay, yeah, you. yeah, I know all the reasons. I look at you, and that's why I love you, and that's why you're so wonderful. Um, and you're going to say the same to me, right? It's different than, being in nature and feeling embraced. The trees, I mean, maybe the trees are talking to you. I don't know. Maybe they are. Sometimes plants wave at me, but they usually don't speak. So it's a different kind. But that's kind of what's coming up for me, is like that kind of faith, that kind of sacred communication. Okay, or maybe you're somebody who, when you're like in a bath, like you're in that element, or maybe when you light candles, like that is part of your sacred faith, that kind of divine love that is above, okay, above all the human stuff. Meaning sometimes life is so heavy, so dense, you know, that we just feel like, what is it? The Ten of Swords, Nine of Swords, that tarot card where it's just somebody with like all these swords in their back. Or we're just carrying like a bunch of duffel bags everywhere we go, in terms of just our emotional, physical strains or worries or concerns. So like above that, this cosmic heart, not this human heart that can be so worn down, that can feel so stressed and so mired in real shit, real concerns. But it's just like, when we need to be lifted, our hearts need to be lifted, these things that we can turn to. I want a card about that. Insert your own interpretation here. Huh. Okay, well, the card I got, it just leapt out. Soul. Pretty sure that's the sun, but isn't that funny? Soul. So we're talking about, yeah, on the soul level, right? Beautiful. So I'm going to look this up. Oop. Okay, I need to put down the card for a second to look this up. Ugh. So. Okay. All right. So if you have a place in mind, like a place in nature, an animal in mind, a guide that you like to talk to, an angel you like to talk to, a deity that you resonate with. I had some beautiful work with Kali today in one of her emanations. I work with Kali a lot. She is one of the main deities that I work with, and she has really this beautiful, great goddess mother energy. She continues to hold me every time that I come to her in need. Okay. So thinking about that, or like I said, an element, maybe, like you feel a certain divine connection when you're in water or when you're lighting candles. I'm going to read this and then kind of take this forward into that element, or with that animal, or with that element, or with that deity, or with that guide, or with that angel, and just kind of like take this energy of whatever's going to come through with this card with you, to help support you connect to that divine love, from the place in your soul that is expanding and connected all the time. So soul. Your sense of personal power will increase. Be confident. Your situation will improve quickly. Do not procrastinate. Choose love over hate. Do not be distracted by gossip or mockery. So remember, we're not getting burned at the stake. We can draw our swords. We can draw our swords if we need to. Do not be distracted. Drawing your sword is not a distraction, by the way. Looping things that you feel are harming you, or people are doing harm. So when it says, do not be distracted by gossip or mockery, these are lower forms of communication. So if you keep getting looped in to these lower forms of communication and it's harming you, draw your sword, babe. Stand up, say something. Speak your actual voice. Use your real voice, that voice that's like, no, no, no. That no matter what's coming out of your mouth, like the undertone is no. This is not okay. No, 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 no. See that determination? Surround yourself with positive people. Okay. And again, I'm going to interpret that as surround yourself with these divine connections. Okay. Yes, people. Yes. But to go to that source of divine love, when you're connecting with people, places, things, guides, angels, it's a different kind of communication. It's a different kind of positive connection. Sorry. Every cell of my being reaches up like the face of a flower turning towards your greatness. You are the source of all warmth, the catalyst to my change, the flow of love to all things, golden and beautiful. I feel filled with now. I am soul. Soul is both a goddess and the sun itself. Soul and her brother Mani were born of time. When the universe was being created, Soul was as golden and beautiful as her brother was silvery and light. At first, Soul was not sure of her role within the new world. And I think we are kind of all approaching this new sense of a world, a new sense of exploration, new transition, these chrysalises that we feel this expansion, yet boundaried by, okay? At first, Soul was not sure of her role within the new world, but then the gods created times of darkness and times of light, assigning Soul the day and Mani the night. Soul and Mani ride across the sky in a horse-drawn chariots. Their steeds are named Arvarkar, means early riser, and I don't know how to pronounce this. It means swift, which I'd like to think means Taylor Swift, because let's just have it mean that. Other cultures have imagined the sun as a deity riding across the sky on a chariot too. For instance, the ancient Greeks saw the sun as Helios and his horses. However, most sun deities are seen as male, which makes the female soul unusual. Perhaps the Norse people saw the sun as particularly rare and beautiful, since their lands were dominated by cold, dark ice. Now, I'm currently in winter where I live, and yeah, it's cold and dark, and there is ice. Yep. Also, the sun was life-giving, as women are givers of life, so they associate the sun with the feminine. In some poems, Soul is said to be chased every day by two ravenous wolves. Ladies, you know that feeling, right? Skål, mockery, and Hati, hate. She manages to outrun them until Ragnarok, when they finally catch and destroy her. This proves an alternative to the mythos of Soul being consumed by the great wolf Fenrir. Okay, well, for some of that, like people who know these myths, I guess, tracked. That's just a little extra information for those that don't. So it's interesting. So she was chased every day by two ravenous wolves, mockery and hate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, again, sometimes we have things that loop in our heads, and that could be like, we can have thoughts that are hateful to ourselves, okay, about ourselves or from other people, things that drive us mad, things that we don't have a sense of control over, and we never will. And there's a lot of mockery and there's a lot of hate that comes into all of our lives, okay? It'd be great if we can mitigate how much we put out into the world, but we definitely have, and we definitely have control. Okay, we have a lot of we have a lot of things that we can do to control that. All right. But mockery and hate. So for anyone that's feeling a sense of feeling mockery or hate in the world. Again, that's why I want you to really lean into it's great. If you're surrounded by wholly positive people all the time, do you, babe? That is exemplary. I'm so happy. But I'm talking about going cosmic, going to the universe, going to this great mother energy, whoever this great mother is, okay? And this is talking about, we're talking about feminine energy. I don't care, babe, you have male, female, whatever. Like connecting to this great female energy, this mother, this life-giving energy, okay? This nurturing energy, the energy that decided, we should probably like put a womb here. We should probably get inside here. We should birth something anew here, okay? Connecting to that energy, especially if we're feeling mocked, if we're feeling attacked, if we're feeling the abuse of others, if we're feeling the hate, okay? Are you empathic? Cool. You're probably, and there's ways, of course, like if you're an open sponge empath and you don't know how to separate from others, your emotions from others, understand that you are separate from anyone. Maybe if you're in that place right now and you are in an abusive relationship, you might be confused by the soul of another. People talk about falling in love with people's potential. If you're an empath, you're probably falling in love with their soul and their soul's path. And you're like, it's so weird. They yell at me all the time and I'm absolutely miserable. But God, they're so good. I see it. The soul thing. But it's one more reason to connect to your higher truth. Okay. Especially if you're someone who's just connecting to the higher truth, the soul energy of other people, connect to your own. And one way to do that, again, connect with your guides, angels, connect to animals, connect to a form of communication. Do connect to guides or angels or just images, to art with oracle or tarot. Beautiful. But just this higher, more soul-led guidance and communication. Okay, nothing wrong with talking to people. That's great. But just really encouraging, especially if you're feeling mockery or hate or abandonment or betrayal or disappointment or frustration or agony or hate or whatever it is, within yourself, towards yourself, within the world, being put on certain people in the world, people you know, people you don't know, areas of the world you know, areas of the world you don't know. It's not always something you can talk out. Sometimes you just have to feel and connect to a more divine, higher energy. Higher meaning above all this dense shit. Because your soul doesn't have language like we're talking. We're talking right now. I'm going to pull a couple charms, then I think I'm done. The word, I'm shaking this bag up, and the word ambivalence came through. And I was like, that's a weird word. Why ambivalence? Okay, so the word for ambivalence is faith, which I think is really funny. It was one of the keywords today. So, hey, if you're feeling ambivalent, connect to the faith in these ways that we're kind of discussing. So faith. What else? Let's do one more. Okay. So the word agony and spirit came through. So we got made for you and the star here. So yeah, I'm putting this as a higher connection. There is something that's made for you. Okay. And yeah, it might manifest in physical form. Okay. Maybe that's what you want. And will then. And don't worry about it. You're golden. You're good. And I guarantee it'll happen. Promise. But I think this is another. So if it was agony and spirit, we've got on one side, it looks like this. It looks like a little sun. It's got little rays on it. I don't know if you can see that. So made for you. So I feel like this is kind of referencing the soul. Okay. And and then this makes me think of just something higher, like reaching to that something higher. Maybe it is just, maybe you connect with the cosmos. Maybe you know, you just like to stare up at the stars and you like to communicate that way. Maybe you look up a meditation that's like just like connecting to the cosmos. You can, Google, maybe you have a teacher you like. There's different meditations. You could just like Google on YouTube, like look up on YouTube, connecting to the cosmos, and you could do meditation with that. You could do a visualization with that. If you have a certain planet that you feel very called to or connected to or place in the galaxy, you can look up a meditation or visualization for that. And I'm just stressing all that because the word agony came up, so I feel like some of us are really in agony. And there's always stuff underneath that. Agony is that top layer, and there's usually like 10 layers under that before you kind of hit a root to start to riff around and explore. But maybe the way that you kind of loosen this soil so you can get down to that root is by doing something like a guided meditation. And maybe that'll just kind of like help free up some space in your mind to have different images come in, different thoughts come in, even if it's for a short time, even if you've got a million things on your mind that are racing, having that time, like a 20-minute guided meditation. You can do that, babe. You got this. And just bring in different ideas, bring in different visuals, connect you to different energy. Yeah, do a cosmic meditation. Or, oh my God, you can look up like sounds of space. I've had some very amazing experiences, just like throughout my body, like just listening to different sounds of space. Just look up on YouTube, like different, just recordings of the sounds of space. It can, if you're like me, maybe it does something very profound to you. I can't name it. I can't explain it, but those have been very transformational things to listen to. So thank you for being with me. Very cool if you watch the whole video. I like watching videos that are like hours long, so I don't really worry about, I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was helpful. 2025, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Really, as much as you can, look at today. And if today is too much, look to your soul, look to the heavens, for lack of a better word, look to galaxies, look to nature, look to loved ones, look to your heart and let it lead you, whatever that means. And if that's too cheesy, just type in, search, look to your heart meditation, cheesy, and then do that meditation. But you're very wise, even if you're bewildered and confused and struggling and kicking and punching, like you're trying to kick yourself free out of a cocoon and emerge as a butterfly, even though you formed about one half of one wing. You got this. You cannot do it wrong. Feeling frustrated or upset or anything else does not mean you're doing it incorrect. It's just how you're feeling, babe. And I'm sorry. I know. I fucking know. But you're extremely loved. And I hope that you take some time to make a connection from your soul to these things, people, and places whose language is beyond what we can mentalize, want to control, and is just pure divine love in essence. Until next time.